Now, at some point in your life, you've probably looked at your bank account, then looked at a news headline about someone hiding $4 billion in a shell company in the Cayman Islands, and thought, how? Just how? The difference between your money and black money is essentially zero. Unfortunately, about 8 offshore accounts, 2 fake charities, a yacht registered in Malta, and one very loyal accountant named Gerald. Black money, loosely defined, is any money that exists outside the official financial system, which sounds mysterious and exciting until you realize the official financial system is also just vibes and confidence. And the only real difference is that one of them pays taxes and the other one owns a private island. Now you might be thinking, okay, but where does it actually go? And the answer, genuinely, is everywhere. But specifically, it goes to exactly the kinds of places that make you feel like reality is a group project, and some people just opted out entirely. Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Not because we want to, but because the money trail is genuinely one of the most insane financial case studies of the last 50 years, and also because it is deeply funny that a man who was supposed to be a hedge fund manager never actually had any visible clients, any visible fund, or any visible explanation for having $577 million. His net worth when he died was officially listed at $577 million. For reference, that is enough to buy approximately 57,700 mid-range used cars, or one medium-sized financial mystery that nobody is allowed to investigate properly. The running theory, which is less a theory and more just what happened, is that Epstein was running a blackmail operation disguised as a social network for powerful people, which is essentially LinkedIn, but instead of endorsing someone's skills in project management, you are being photographed on a private island. What's interesting from a purely financial perspective, and we are going to stay in the purely financial lane here for legal reasons, is that money connected to people like Epstein doesn't disappear. It migrates. Like geese, but wearing a suit and incorporated in Delaware. The primary vehicle for moving black money around is the shell company. A shell company is a business that exists entirely on paper, does nothing, employs no one, produces nothing, and exists solely so that money can pass through it without anyone asking too many questions. Setting one up costs about $500 in an afternoon, which means for the price of a slightly above average dinner, you too can have the same basic infrastructure as an international money laundering operation. The main difference being that they use theirs and you'll forget the password. The way it works is you create a company. That company owns another company. That company owns a property. That property is rented to another company, which is owned by the first company, which is technically owned by a trust, which is managed by a law firm, which is located in a country where the laws are more of a general suggestion. By the end of this, the money is so clean it has its own skincare routine. The most popular destinations for this kind of financial tourism are the Cayman Islands, Luxembourg, Delaware, yes, Delaware, a place you have driven through once and felt nothing, the British Virgin Islands, and Switzerland, which has built an entire national identity around not telling you things. If shell companies are the vehicle, real estate is the destination. And this is where it gets genuinely absurd in a way that should make every person who has ever been rejected for a mortgage feel personally victimized. The way black money enters real estate is simple. You buy a property in cash through a shell company at slightly above market value. The seller is happy. The shell company now owns a legitimate asset. You sell it later at market value to someone else. The money that comes out is now clean, taxed, and entirely legal. You have just done laundry. Congratulations, your whites have never looked better. In cities like London, New York, Dubai, and Vancouver, this has contributed to housing prices becoming completely untethered from what actual humans earn. Because the competition isn't just local buyers. It's anonymous shell companies backed by money that has already died once and been resurrected with a new passport. In London, entire streets of multi-million-pound townhouses sit empty because they are not homes. They are savings accounts with postcode. So where does black money ultimately end up? Partially in real estate, partially in art, because art valuation is entirely subjective. meaning you can buy a painting for $2 million and sell it for $9 million, and nobody can technically prove you're wrong. Partially in crypto, because at a certain point someone realized that a financial system with no central authority, no paper trail, and no customer service line was extremely useful if you were trying to move $40 million without filing paperwork. And partially, if we are being honest, it ends up funding the kind of lifestyle that gets quietly referenced in documents that are then immediately sealed by a court in a jurisdiction you've never heard of. The real answer to where black money goes is, it goes wherever the laws are thinnest, the questions are fewest, and the accountants are most expensive. It goes to places that are technically legal because the people moving it wrote the laws. It goes to the same financial system you use, just accessed from a different door, with better parking. And the funniest part? Some of it ends up back in government bonds. Which means there is a non-zero chance that the people who hid the money are now technically lending it back to the same governments that were supposed to stop them. Which means the taxpayer wins again, as always. Checkmate, everyone, I guess.